9 o'clock on the dot on a Tuesday. Good morning, everybody. Paul Ihander with you. Max Goren is here as well as we get things rolling in the mid-August time frame for you. It's a little bit of a sweet spot for non-sports as we are talking a lot about training camps these days. We are still trying to figure out the status of Alexander Nikishin. And by the way, this is your lone update for the day. Alexander Nikishin remains unsigned. There it is. And the NBA decided to do a midsummer thing and tell us what they're going to do to start the season and give us a Christmas Day plan because everybody loves watching basketball on Christmas Day. Back in the day, this feels like a lifetime ago, 20 years ago, when I worked in San Antonio for the San Antonio Spurs, they had a Christmas Day game. And had to wake up that morning. And, of course, it was the early one, so we had the noon start. And get up. Wife and I exchange presents. We go over to a family friend's house. They're like, hey, you guys want to come over? We'll have a little bit of food. We'll watch the basketball game, knowing full well that I had to go to work anyway. And we get to their house, and we're an hour in, and I have some food, and I'm like, I got to go. And they're like, yep, we know. And all of a sudden, the remainder of your Christmas Day, and this is, for anybody who has to work on holidays, and I've worked on many holidays, not just in media, but in other, I've worked retail, folks. It's not, it's retail on Christmas Day. We didn't up until noon, of course. It's all noon kind of stuff. But, you use that entire day to kind of go, okay, well, other people need things too, right? Besides yourself, and you go out there and entertain or serve or whatever it is that you do, and It's it's great for fans, for the people who have to work, not as great. I'm just saying. But no one's going to give up that real estate, much like the NFL won't give up Thanksgiving Day and its triple headers, and the NHL's whatever days it likes to do all the staggered start stuff. And we have a game at the end of, when is it, April? Like towards the end of the season when they play the Canes play a 2 o'clock game in the afternoon on a weekday, just so they can help out European audiences and have a kids' day at the same time. Which, again, hey, you do what you got to do. They play day baseball, right? You can play day hockey. Maybe we should just get over ourselves and just start playing more games at Lenovo Center at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Makes sense. Makes absolutely perfectly good sense. All right, Carolina Panthers off and running. They will open up the brand new Buffalo Bills football stadium on Saturday afternoon with a 1 o'clock kick. It'll be in our family station, Mix 101.5. Apparently, Buffalo Bills fans, at least less than 1% of the people that have seen their new seats, aren't too crazy about the sight lines. The Bills say they will correct those sight lines. And when you downplay the less than 1%, I want you to be very careful when you put numbers out there like that. And this is Panthers related, but it's not, because we are talking about the Panthers playing at the Bills on Saturday, and it is a brand new building, and it looks pretty. There's no doubt about it. It looks pretty. Perhaps it'll control some of the elements. But when, as a business owner, just some free advice, if you just say, well, it was less than 1% of the people that were complaining, remind yourself of those 1%. And those 1% in a building that seats 60,000, if you're talking about less than 1%, you're still talking about 600 people. 600 people complaining about their seats. And again, everybody likes to complain about something, right? You can't see, that's your problem. I guarantee you the same thing is happening at Lenovo Center when they put all those brand new seats in. Someone won't be happy. When they put the view bar in at Lenovo Center, people that sat around that view bar or up above it, because people could stand up against the rail, lost part of their view of the ice. Like, the pictures show it. Pictures worth 1,000 words. You're always going to complain. Address those complaints properly. Don't just say, well, it's only a handful of people. You never know who one of those handful of people is. Maybe they are a 35-year season ticket holder. Maybe they are one of the people who, is married to one of your biggest advertisers. You don't have to, just placate everybody. There's no doubt about it, but just don't dismiss it, is what I'm saying. Because that's what creates bad juju and bad vibes, and nobody wants that, right? I worked for a boss that said, I'm just out here to try to make everyone smile. I'm here to create smiles, right? You go to an event, I'm here to create smiles. It doesn't mean refunding your money. It doesn't mean giving you, endless amounts of popcorn or whatever it is. But it means doing just that one little extra thing. The one little extra thing that'll turn that kind of flat, pursed lips or upside down frown from the Karen or the Jimmy Joe that doesn't like what's going on, and you can make them smile just a little teeny bit. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, speaking of not smiling, the Carolina Panthers were not smiling yesterday because they got into a fight, a scuffle, a kerfuffle. Whatever it was going to happen. And for me, it's a good thing that we are talking about the Carolina Panthers and having passion and having a fight at practice. And a lot of people are like, it's not good. Some guys are going to get hurt. Guys are going to get hurt anyway. But what you want with the Carolina Panthers is to never have the discussion that you had a couple of years ago, which was, do the Panthers have any fight in them? And the Panthers have transformed themselves, I believe, into a much more physical team, a much more physically present team. That is by design when you bring in a run-heavy, run-first head coach and you bring in a couple of road graders at the guard positions and you beef up your defense over and over and over again with the so-called Dan Morgan dogs. And Jonathan Brooks got hit last night. Again, he's got two repaired ACLs. And it ends up with guys pushing and shoving. You had a defender in Stone Forsythe on the ground. Luke Fortner gets involved, which Dave Canales called him Mr. Justice, or he has a little justice in him. Which, okay, I'll buy that. I've never used that term that much when it came to the enforcer role. Maybe that's the new way to call it, the justice role out there. But you got Bryce Young out there yapping at Mike Jackson, and they did so pretty much the entire practice. That's a good thing. I think it's good to get that stuff out of the way now as you're going against each other. And again, with some cautionary tales about who you're going to hit and how you tackle, but it feels like everybody is very understanding. I can't imagine you're just going to go run out there and just blow dudes up for the sake of blowing dudes up, especially a guy with some ACL surgeries. And they've all talked and they all get it, but at some point you do have to hit somebody. You can't just, okay, there it is. Like, defense at 3/4 speed does not serve you well. This team, if it wants to be physical, should be physical. And if more of these happen, I'm okay with it as long as there's an understanding that there's a reason why these things are happening. Like, are we playing football out there on the field? They're not launching and hitting them in the head. I'm assuming it's not some spear or anything like that. And you're talking to a guy right here, me, who wore a neck brace for 6 weeks for making a bad tackle once. Like, no one's going to take shots. I think that's the thing too. Like, I don't want to blow it up to too much. Doesn't need to be more than it needs to be, but I enjoy aggression. I want this team to be aggressive and to do it now against guys that isn't going to cost you anything. If I do this same stuff in a regular season game, like, it turns into something more than just bad blood. In some cases, if the tackle isn't correct, if the pushing and shoving thing, that's 15 yards. 15 yards in practice means 0. 15 yards in the field could be the difference between a Brandon Aubrey 67-yard field goal for the Cowboys or takes you out of any sort of position to score when you need 6 the most. Get this stuff done here. Be that physical team that you want to be, and then channel it properly in the regular season. I think camp fights are good. They're good because it takes some of the steam out, right? Some of you own those Instapots. Like, you're familiar with those Instapots where, you close the lid down and clamp it and it cooks your food like 40% faster. You're making like orange chicken in it or stew or vegetables or pasta. Like, yesterday was about them taking the steam out of that Instapot because it was going to happen eventually. And you don't want that happening in Buffalo on Saturday. You don't need that noise, especially for guys that are fighting jobs. But also just to make sure that your starters are going to get to play the amount of plays that they want to do, the amount of plays that they want to have. And so Dave Canales was asked yesterday about those starters and playing on Saturday?
Yes, we will play. We will play this week for sure. We'll take it week to week. We'll get them out there, probably play something similar to what Kenny and that group played in the Hall of Fame game. So it'll be somewhere between 10 and 20 plays, depending on how those drives pan out, so we can just get some good work in. And really it goes back to the night before, leading up to the game, knowing you're playing, regardless of how many snaps you're playing, like, it changes how you prep, it changes how you eat, how you wake up, what you do in the morning, when you get to the locker room, how you set your things up, and you go through your whole routine. It's just a great opportunity to put your mind in game mode. And so we got to take advantage of some of those.
We need to find the quote last year when he was playing starters. I believe he said the exact same stuff. It was like, well, you get prepared a little bit different. You wake up different, you eat a little bit different. You set your stuff up. Like, he is all about, like, following the schedule, making sure that everything is lined up and is in place. And maybe that's a benefit for him not being the primary play caller for the Carolina Panthers this year. It does allow him to be more CEO, general manager kind of focused, right? The guy that doesn't necessarily have to herd the cattle. He just has to count them and say, all right, make sure all the cattle are there in the field, make sure the fences are tied down. That's the kind of role. And so with him not calling plays, Brad Idzik is calling plays. And is the playbook open? Is there something a little bit different? Bryce Young was asked those thoughts after he finally cooled down and stopped being chippy and junk with Mike Jackson.
I think he did a great job. Great job of, of executing the game plan. Great job of being, that one call ahead of, having good rhythm, mixing and blending, being balanced, and then also, recognizing, having feel for what the defense is in, what they want to do, and then, being fast with a counter. It's such a high-level game, and especially for that being his first time. He's called in other preseason games, but, just start to bottom, it not being a drill, but, really what he's going to do. I thought he handled it really, really well. So that was just fun to be on the headset, for all that. So we're all excited.
I didn't understand half of that. To be honest with you, that's like towards the end. He was just like, it was cool to listen to. He probably could have just said that. I'm like, I think Bryce Young will benefit from having a play caller in his ear that is not managing all the other aspects of the game. I mean, this is why the NFL's going with the idea of having a designated play challenger now that is not the head coach. Like, you're able to go, all right, my running backs coach is going to be the guy who's going to have that flag thrown. He's going to consult with me before he throws that flag, maybe, but I'm going to have to trust them to make that call if it's not correct to throw that challenge flag. Like, I'm all about that. Empowering some of your empowering assistants, like, especially with Idzik, because, Canales is not a defensive mind. Offensively, struggle with play calling. I think we all can kind of agree, put that one in the hat and close the chapter on that one. And if Brad Idzik can get them moving a second quicker, 2 seconds quicker, 3 seconds quicker, they'll be in a much better spot. They'll be in a much better spot going into the season. And if game one, and I count it as game one, the Hall of Fame game, if game one was any indication about getting things moving, if Brad Idzik can move a second and third team the way the second and third teams were moving last Thursday, then I cannot wait to see what he does with first-team guys as they kick things off in Buffalo. So the cat fight is over. The Panthers getting ready for Buffalo Saturday afternoon. That game on our family station, Mix 101.5, if you are driving around with a 1 o'clock kick.
I'm Max Goren with 3 things you need to know right now from 99.9 The Fan. Head coach Dave Canales said yesterday that many Carolina Panthers starters will play 10 to 20 plays on Saturday in their preseason Week 1 game against Buffalo. Be sure to tune into that game as well as all Panthers games this season on our family station, Mix 101.5. The NBA announced this morning that opening night for the 2026-27 season will be Tuesday, October 20th, featuring a triple header. Celtics versus Pistons at 3 o'clock, Sixers versus Knicks at 7 o'clock, and Thunder versus Spurs at 9:30. The rest of the regular season schedule will be released later this week. The Durham Bulls are a half game back of first place in the second half standings, and tonight they start a series against the Memphis Redbirds at the DBAP. Bulls coverage is available on 620 AM Buzz Sports Radio, 99.9 FM HD2, and WRAL News Plus, with first pitch scheduled for 6:45 p.m. For all the latest news on your favorite teams, download the 99.9 The Fan app or visit 999thefan.com.
The NBA is, I don't know, if it's growing too big for its britches, maybe it has aspirations that maybe, I don't know, shouldn't happen. This morning they announced their opening night schedule. You heard Max mention a little bit of that with a triple header on Tuesday, October the 20th, with a Celtics-Pistons game at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Again, maybe we should get over ourselves with the idea that everything has to be in prime time, that we can play games around the clock. Like, if I work in an arena and I manage an arena, why does everything have to be at night, right? People could take time off. You could take PTO and go see a game at 12 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday. They play day baseball on Wednesday. People have gatherings at 10 o'clock in the morning at places, and you still have to pay $95 a ticket to go listen to them speak. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Sports are sports. Events are events. Meetings are meetings. Seminars are seminars. We can play sports in the middle of the day and cover them. We can. It's not even about money. It's clearly not about money anymore if we're playing 3 o'clock in the afternoon games. But the NBA has a couple of things on its plate right now. One, the idea that they are going to have a professional basketball league in Europe. The NBA and FIBA are targeting a launch for next fall. They would have 16-team leagues, and they would have a 16-team league is what it is. And we don't have to get too deep into, where they're going to be. Just think about, if you're familiar with geography, just think about the major cities in Europe, and that's probably where they're going to be. They're figuring out ownership proposals and whatnot. It's probably going to cost about $1 billion a team in Europe, and they're going to, play there. And NBA has paved this path. Like, they've been paving this path for years. Like, it started with the drafting of European players. It continued during the Olympic Games with Team USA, Dream Teams, and Redeem Teams, and all those teams that came through the Olympics and, playing in Paris in the games most recently. They've got lots of European players, in the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame that have been placed there. Dirk Nowitzki and Tony Parker, and that's Germany and France. Just, immediately. There's a lot of players who have played in Europe. And so whether this is a farm kind of thing, I don't think it's the farm. We already have that farm here in the G League in the United States. They're looking to, basically just take the logo and expand the brand to Europe. If it's important to the NBA, they'll make it happen. The question is, for a lot of folks, there is an awful lot of European talent that's been stashed away for years by NBA teams. And this would give those, if they're signing rights away, to give to them a chance to play in NBA Europe. I don't know how that's going to work. I'm not sure they even know how that's going to work. If the Philadelphia 76ers have the rights to Demetrios Thanos, and I just made that name up. I don't know if that person actually exists. They probably do, if I just made it up. Demetrios Thanos, they hold the rights, and the guy ends up playing at the London team. Do they still own his rights if he plays in the NBA Europe, or is he assigned to NBA Europe? There's things that the NBA has to work out here as they try to establish this new league, and it will be NBA owned. It's not a breakaway. Now, what does become a breakaway, as they start developing talent and they start spreading out more money, because we know sports, there's a lot of deep pockets out there. Do other international leagues, and it's already happening in China, right? In China, they're getting players to play there, not necessarily in their primes, more towards the latter end of their career. It's kind of like that Saudi soccer league. The Chinese league, Allen Iverson played in the Chinese Professional Basketball League. And he is a legend there. They paid him money to be there, again, more at the tail end of his career. Now, there's an owner in the Greek league, and I'm going to botch the name, so I won't even try to do it, but he owns a basketball club in Athens, and he wanted to buy Nikola Jokic out of his final season of his NBA contract and thinks he can sign him away next summer. Nikola Jokic is very European. As a matter of fact, Nikola Jokic, when the season ends, cannot wait to get back to Serbia. He cannot wait to get back to Europe because he races horses. He's a horse race. He owns horses. Like, when they won the world championship, they had to ask him to stay for the parade. He's like, do I need to stay? I want to go home. He's like, when's the parade? It's like this day. Oh, I guess I need to change my flight. Like, he was already ready to go back. Well, the owner of this Greek club, PAO, we'll just call PAO because you know what? I'm going to try it. Panathinaikos Basketball Club in Athens made a proposal to the Nuggets to buy Jokic out of the final season of his NBA deal. They said no. He's got a lot of money left. The second season is a player option because so he could enter unrestricted free agency. Now, he could also, next summer, sign the largest contract in NBA history, $250 million for 5 years as a 32-year-old NBA player, MVP, and a world champion. And whether you take it seriously or not, much like I just said about not ignoring the 1% of people or so that complain about sightlines, this should not be ignored or dismissed. Because if you didn't realize it, there's an awful lot of sports owners out there and franchise owners who have an awful lot of money. And if Nikola Jokic, and Jokic is a special guy, like he is a dragon in the middle of a bunch of teeny dragons, right? His affinity for going home could outweigh the idea that he could make, and it's an obscene number, $72 million to play one single basketball season with the Denver Nuggets. Now, Denver has the right to say no to buyout or whatever it is. I mean, of course, they're selling jerseys and that kind of stuff. That's not a lot. But if there is a serious proposal to be made, and if you're going to make it, you might as well make it to the biggest guy around. And this is where, if Nikola Jokic says yes, you have a ton of European players with an awful lot of talent going, well, if he can cash in some of these international leagues, why don't I? And this is that talent that moves to Europe and plays in those games because the NBA is already trying to get ahead of it. It's not veiled, right? The NBA is like, we need to put a foothold here in Europe as we see these teams emerge and they do their television deals and they do their streaming deals over there. You don't think there's a lot of money over there? There's an absolute lot of money over there. And if you're talking about an owner of a team who's like, I'll buy him out of a $121.8 million contract, don't even think about what that kind of number could be once he becomes an absolute unrestricted free agent. The NBA doesn't have the corner on every good player. They're trying to, though. NBA Europe is the roadblock to a lot of that. But again, they've got things to work out too. Salary caps, player control, space, all those fun things that come along with starting it. But Nikola Jokic cannot wait after every season to go back to Serbia and watch his horses and go back home. Don't think that he wouldn't at least give it a thought if that number is huge.